In this week's Parsha, for the very first time, we find the Jewish people leaving Har Sinai. As we ourselves have just celebrated the holiday of Shavuos when we received the Torah at Mount Sinai, it brought to mind an interesting question that really struck me this year almost for the first time. The Torah tells us the Jewish people traveled and they began to complain. Now, in the understanding of the rabbis, they were complaining about a few different things, and even in the sentences we find a few different topics. One was that they were complaining about the grind of the traveling. Another is the food. In the sentences it talks about their dissatisfaction with the heavenly food, the man. And another phrase in the Torah indicates that they were complaining that now, since Mount Sinai, they had to be married to non-family members, whereas prior to Mount Sinai, because the rules of the Torah were not yet given, uncles and aunts, and for example, would be allowed as marriage partners, etc. And here the Jewish people are complaining about potentially all these different things. And a really interesting observation is that the Jewish people were camped at Mount Sinai from the third month when they left Egypt, the month of Sivan, until what the Torah tells us here in Parshas Be'alosecha, until the second year in the second month. So basically, just about a full year since the Mount Sinai event occurred, since the 10 Commandments were spoken, since Moshe came down from the mountain 40 days after that, and then maybe another 180 days after that. Bottom line is, the Jewish people have been at Mount Sinai for about a year. They have not complained about the man. They have not complained about to whom they were married. And yes, they have not complained about travel because they weren't traveling, but as soon as they leave, now the traveling is a problem, who they're married to is a problem, this delicious heavenly food called the man, that's a problem. Why is this happening a year after most of this began? So I would like to suggest that a very common experience for all human beings that go through something very transformational or very inspiring. They might have an aha moment in a hospital room over the birth of a child, or maybe they went on an exciting learning retreat or some other kind of spiritual elevation experience that they had. What tends to happen is that after the experience is over, it kind of fades in the background, and people have great difficulty taking their inspiration with them and applying it practically into their lives in a way that actually continues to help them to grow, develop, to reach new heights, whether it be of spirituality, of sensitivity, of caring to other people. All of this is something that is difficult for most people to transition from the inspiration, immersive event to what happens next in their lives. And I think that the Torah is giving us some tremendous insight here in what can really be a pathway for a person who wants to take the elevation that they experienced, such as recently in our holiday of Shavuos, or even if we talk about taking the lessons of October 7th to heart, as we continue to understand everything that we learn from that. How do we make sure that we are practically incorporating these things into our lives so that we do change, develop for the better, transform, get closer to Hashem and a more spiritual existence? And really the answer over here that the Torah tells us is the concept of zikenim. Because when the people experienced all of this, Hashem told Moshe to appoint 70 zikenim, 70 elders. These elders are the forerunners of the Sanhedrin of that time and of the future, the high supreme court of the Jewish people in all matters of law that pertain to all people. And therefore what the Torah is telling us is very simple. Yes, I get it, you Jewish people just went through the most incredible experience of all time, the Mount Sinai event, the most critical, seminal moment in our Jewish nation's history. Now, you're traveling away from Mount Sinai a year later, so now you're feeling, oh, maybe I can't handle all the responsibility that I really undertook when I accepted the Torah at Mount Sinai, to not be married to the people I was married to before and to have a different marriage, to eat this very heavenly food that was almost ethereal in quality, did not produce any waste, and everything that is challenging about living on such an elevated plane. It's one thing if I'm at Mount Sinai, it's one thing if I'm learning Torah every day from Moshe Rabbeinu, it's one thing if it just happens here, but now that I have to take it with me, traveling through the desert, wherever we go next, for the long-term future, people might feel balking at that concept, and therefore they look for excuses to complain about the travel, about the families who they're married to, about the man. So therefore the Torah says that the answer is make sure that you appoint elders, because in order for people to take an immersive or a transformational experience, an aha moment with them, they need guidance of elders. They need guidance of wise people that have been there, done that, have insight, maybe have a special way to feel connected and can bring extra wisdom into the discussion. That is what people need. And on top of that, the Torah is telling us that the leadership, the people that are the Zikanim, the elders of the Jewish people, they need to understand who are the Jewish people, where are they, what is their level, how do we meet them where they are at currently. So whether that's encouraging someone to come study, or that's encouraging a person to think about what does it mean to have a valuable, meaningful, fulfilling life, whether it's helping people to think about building a family, and maybe they're a little caught up in the secular world. Wherever the people are at, we need the elders and the guides to consider that and to reach out to those potential people that could grow, and for the people that actually know that they want to grow, but they might find themselves looking for distractions or making excuses why this is too difficult. They need to go seek out people that are wise, people that have great information and perspective, and people that have life experience. And by doing that, they'll be able to say, that person that I really was trying to be during the holiday of Shavuot, that person that I want and I sense inside myself to come out because I had this tremendous spiritual elevation of any type, I'm going to go set myself up with a mentor, with a guide, and that person will be able to help me. And God willing, if we do that, we can avoid the pitfalls of the desert and all the problems that occurred by not taking advantage of those relationships. Instead of spending 40 years to get to Eretz Yisrael, let's bring the Mashiach by employing the strategy and, God willing, learning everything we need to learn, and hopefully seeing Mashiach Tzidkenu b'mheira v'yameinu.